Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's orchestrating, delegating, broadcasting, transcoding, or AI inference. We're here to ask questions, get answers. So first up is going to be our topic around kind of the update around pricing, Livepeer Studio, and these types of questions. So Hunter, do you want to give us a quick update as to what's happening, and then we can dive into questions as they come up?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I've shared most of this in Discord already, but I can certainly reiterate some of what I said there. We had laid out a rough timeline for the pricing changes, overall traffic ramp. I think the reality is that when you are dealing with a customer of this size, rollout plans don't always go according to strict timelines. And so what's happened over the course of the past week or so is that as you roll out to a wider audience, you flush out some little nits in the system, whether that's an edge case around transcoding, or viewers in a certain region experiencing poorer playback than other regions. So we've taken the time to work through some of those issues with the customer. I think that our belief is that the rollout is it's proceeding. We just have to tackle some of these issues. And so we've held some of the pricing updates in the interest of fairness to the orchestrator community while we work through those issues. So happy to answer any questions that come up. That's a brief overview of where we're at.
Great. I think Jonas brought up his topic around increased work and price change. Jonas, do you have any more questions or topics for Hunter?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I'm just looking for a bit of an update if we got any sort of specific date set. But if not, obviously, I'll just keep my eyes peeled, and we'll keep following any posts in Discord.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, predictability is a little bit tough because it's really a question of comfort levels more than anything else. So I think really the most likely outcome is that one day I'll send an update and say, hey guys, you should expect significant traffic ramp ups and probably the price change alongside that. But because it's a matter of comfort levels, it's really hard to say exactly when that's going to be. And the hope is that it's soon, of course.
Well, Hunter, there's one other theme that I also thought might be helpful to flag for you that people are chatting about here, which is a combination of the rounds not initializing on the network due to gas spikes and PM tickets failing. They might be related. I don't have all the info, and I don't know if you have visibility into that either. But if you did, I thought it might be helpful to at least put on your radar.
Yeah, certainly. So I don't have a lot of information here at this point. I think we'll have to do a little digging there. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a brief
cool.
question.
Yeah, it looks like there's. Yeah, go ahead, John.
With the dynamic pricing, I know there was an issue, with the pricing, when a price had changed, the broadcaster would switch orchestrators. And I think that some development's been done to fix that. I was just curious if that's been deployed to the broadcaster nodes yet.
Yeah, that has been deployed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, as for how it interacts with something like a round not initializing, that's a great question. I assume that if a round's not initializing, there's going to be a whole host of problems downstream of that.
Yeah, I did have an issue with a ticket. I think, and Brad actually pointed out last night, and I haven't had a chance to dig into it, but it may be something as simple as a go Livepeer issue. So we'll open a ticket for that when we get more info.
Yeah, I mean, I had 3 tickets that all had different. The creation date of the ticket didn't match the round. That was the round number. And then Mike actually had one. Zuper, he's for some reason not able to get into the chat room right now, but he had one as well. So Seems like something's going on, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Again, we need to look into it. My quick reaction is that I would be surprised if this was related to anything pricing, of these pricing changes or the stable pricing. But I think too early to say at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it would be that either. If anything, I would think maybe a gas spike, but even that seems really odd to have again the mismatched creation round and date. But yeah, I don't know really how to troubleshoot it than to say I've seen it 3 times now in 2 days. So and it seems like other people are seeing it, and there's probably people that it's happening to that aren't aware of it too. Would be my guess.
Is this occurring at like the time boundary of like cutover between round initialization, or it seems randomly spread out throughout the
No,
day?
I mean I had one happen like 3 hours before the last round ended. And that was the most recent one, and so no, I would have thought the same thing too, or I thought at least possibly that, but no. And I checked UTC time to make sure everything was all right. And yeah, no, it was I mean really just a few hours ago. We'll keep collecting info and hopefully we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm sure we'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah, I've got to look some logs myself.
Well, Hunter, thanks for dropping in for a few minutes. So when I heard a bunch of questions around these topics during the intros, thought it would be helpful to have someone from the studio side just to at least hear what's going on.
Yeah, of
But
course.
appreciate
Happy
you
to drop
joining.
by.
Thanks for stopping by, Hunter. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Hunter.
As always, I'm around on Discord. If you have any questions, just hit me up.
Cool. All right. Let's continue on with finishing up introductions. I see we have Stack. There's Stace. How do you say that name? Stace, will you want to introduce yourself and a topic? Nope. Okay. Henry, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic? Henry, are you with us? I cannot hear you if you are speaking. All right. Sarge, how do you say that? You want to introduce yourself and a topic? All right, no worries. We'll continue on then. Okay, so continuing on with the topics from earlier, there are a couple items I'd like to address as we get into this. So the first one is going to be a topic I had, which is the community developer role and kind of the nuts and bolts that are going forward to making that role happen. And so, for those that don't know, the community developer role is this role that is I put forward a pre-proposal for people to be hired directly from the Treasury to work on the Livepeer code base, and in doing so, they would get paid, compensated for maybe a year's amount of time, and they would work directly for the protocol in a kind of decentralized, autonomous manner. So there's been quite a bit of support for the idea. I think right now we have a good candidate, which is Brad, and we could go forward. So the first thing I want to do is figure out kind of the payment method of having the developer kind of working with the Treasury. So I've gone down a couple paths to figuring this out. One was using open source audited contracts that already exist. For instance, the Open Zeppelin vesting contract, which Doug pointed me towards. There's some benefits and drawbacks. One is that it's an open source, very reliable contract to use. But it does miss some of the functionality that we might need as a community. And so I'm looking for some feedback just on like trade-offs on what we want to do for bringing what direction we want to go. So there's three options. One is using like the Open Zeppelin model, which what it does is there's really no way to return the funds back to the treasury if the community developer isn't following through with what they said they were going to do. So it becomes kind of like a one-way contract. You put it into a vesting contract. It gets paid out over 12 months, and it is really no difference to then just giving them a lump sum of funds, because there's no way to actually like return the funds back to the treasury, right? In the version,
I thought we said it was. I thought we said it was revocable, but the problem is, a multi-sig of guardians or managers would be the ones who could revoke it.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. So the version 2 of the Open Zeppelin contract, so the latest version, which I believe is version 5, doesn't have a revoke function. It's just a one-way contract of funds. The version 2 model, so a couple of versions ago, has a revoke function, which you could then return you could take the funds. I'm just using this as a case of like the developer just totally ghosts the project, or the developer, accidentally passes away, and there's no one there to even do the work. So the version 2 contract has a revoke function, which the deployer of the contract could call the revoke function and return the tokens back to that wallet address. So what Doug had mentioned is you could do something where you have a multi-sig address of the guardians that could, if the developer doesn't work out, they could return the funds back to the multi-sig, and then from the multi-sig, the guardians would then have to do another transaction to send that back to the treasury, right? So there's kind of like a potential risk of guardians being able to steal the wages of the developer that does technically exist. It would require collusion of the two, but it is possible. So there's that way of using the Open Zeppelin model. Mike says, for some reason I cannot hear sound effects, Discord calls, just not the water cooler. I don't know what's going on with yours, Mike. So there's and lastly, that the Open Zeppelin contract, anyone can call the claim, the reward function. So the developer, anyone can send the current amount of rewards, the unlocked amount of LPT, to the developer at any time. So the developer could get spammed with 100. If you spent $1 a day, the developer could get spammed with 100 transactions a day of the LPT being drizzled into their account, which probably isn't okay on like a macro level. Like they'll still get all their funds, but for tax reporting purposes, that could be really difficult, because other people can create taxable events based on like this community developer agreement. So those are some of the downsides of using the open source, audited version. I had a friend create a contract based on my specifications around like having guardians being able to return the funds back to the treasury, and for the payee of the contract is the only one allowed to call the function to claim the tokens, so they can better manage when they get paid. So I can post that in the chat, and this one is obviously unaudited, but it does kind of specifically what was mentioned in the pre-proposal. So so in the GitHub, there's kind of a diagram of what's happening, and then lastly, there's third-party options. So I believe it's Rich and I have a meeting with Stream. What are they called? Streamflow? No. Get the name of the company.
Superfluid.
Superfluid, that's it. We have a meeting with Superfluid tomorrow on their vesting product. So obviously they have a product for doing this type of thing. I don't know how customizable it is and how hands off it is, or at least how permissionless it is. So we'll kind of see what they have to say. But anyway, there's a lot of me talking, but those are kind of the three paths I've gone down for handling the payment of the community developer. Does anyone want to bring up their thoughts or questions based on what I've said so far, or opinions?
I'm definitely interested to hear what the superfluid, method would look like. But some of those contracts do present some issues. I think the Zeppelin, Open Zeppelin ones. I kind of like the last one you mentioned them better though.
You mean
A lot of
the
people-
contract that I built?
Yeah, it's. I mean, the second one. I might have gotten confused somewhere along the line.
Oh yeah, so the Open Zeppelin, there's like,
Open Zeppelin.
Yeah, the Open Zeppelin one, you'd be able to, have the funds go back to a multi-sig, and then send it back to the treasury. But then the Guardians could collude to steal the funds. What I did in this contract was that the two Guardians have the ability to call the terminate function, and the contract would send the funds back to the treasury automatically. So there's only two ways that the funds can go. It's either to the payee, the developer as time rolls on, or directly back to the treasury. And then also having the ability for the developer, the only one that has the ability to claim the funds. I thought that was important, but it might not be. Brad, do you have an opinion on that? I mean, yeah, you're kind of the guinea pig in this, so do you have an opinion on that?
On just the community developer claiming the funds?
Yeah.
Or everything. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think they should have to do something to claim it. And I'd also, going from the other way, I don't think it's a big deal that they have to do something to claim it. So it's not just an automatic payment stream. I also don't disagree with Guardians in general. There needs to be some kind of ability to eject, I believe. Because as you said, there can be an almost infinite number of reasons that the role can't be fulfilled going forward. Could be morbid, as in your example, or it could just be things have shifted, things have changed, in various different ways.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So, I just think that what I've done now is I also have come to the vesting contract. Here's the Open Zeppelin vesting contract, right?
And if the funds can't be returned, would they just effectively be burned at that point?
Funds to what? Sorry.
The treasury, like if the contract was revoked, but let's say they couldn't be returned to the treasury, they'd just be burned at that point, right?
Why wouldn't they be returned to the treasury?
Just in like one of your examples of types of contract, I think like V5, V5 was a one-way, but wasn't there an example where it couldn't necessarily be returned back? Or was I putting an intermediate step in there? With the V2, you could always return it back, but the Guardians could just keep it because they didn't have control of it, right?
Yeah. So V5, I'm like almost at it. This is V5 contracts vesting. So the V5 contract is a one-way vesting schedule. There is no way to return the funds if the Guardian doesn't claim them, or if the payment person, the developer, like it's just a one-way contract, right? It's just delayed over time. So there's no way to reverse the transaction. There's no way to send the funds anywhere except for that wallet address.
I think you should just rule that one out for this use case entirely.
Yeah. So is
I
that,
agree.
yeah. So then V2 is just whoever deploys the contract has a function they can call, which is revoke, and that would would drain the contract of any more payments and bring it to send it to the contract deployer. And then the contract deployer then can do what they want with the funds, right? We would hope that the guardians who own the multi-sig to the contract deployer would then send those funds back to the treasury.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think in any of these scenarios, there's going to be some levels of trust
Right.
between the deployer or the proposer of the treasury vote. So I just don't think we're going to get away from that. Having some kind of step like that.
Well, again, the contract that I had my friend built, that eliminates that, right? So there's only two ways that you put in the treasury contract as the terminate address, and you put in the developer as the payee address, and those are the only two ways the funds can go, right? So there is no way that the funds can get confiscated or liquidated or stolen. And it requires both guardians to sign the terminate function for it to get sent back to the treasury.
Yeah, there's still going to be a trust level between the community developer and the guardians.
Sure, but if the
That has to be there.
guardians are very don't, for whatever reason, collude that they don't like the developer for one reason or another, and they decide to terminate the contract and send the funds back to the treasury, we get to do another vote and say, hey, do we think these guardians did a proper job? If not, we can spin up a new contract with two new guardians and the same developer, have a vote go through, and off we go again, right? So we've actually not lost any LPT, and we've swapped out the guardians but kept the developer in that case, right?
Yeah, I think that all makes sense.
Having the guardians the ability to take, so all this being said, we haven't seen what Superfluid has to offer, because they don't actually show how their product works. And it's still like in beta, or you have to be on the allow list. So Superfluid could have a really similar or better functioning product that is audited. So we'll have to see what they have to say. And then in the meantime, there is this contract I did post in the chat, if anyone wants to take a look, which has a diagram of how it works. It's 65 lines of code with 2 callable functions. So it's pretty simple. Like, it's definitely not a complicated contract. But if you want to get it audited, I just talked to Code for Arena this morning, and they were like they wanted like $5,000 to audit the 65 lines. And I'm like, okay. And
Interesting.
but they're trying to like upsell me to like $10,000, and I was like, it's not actually what I had in mind to audit 2. Oh yeah, and the 2 functions that are call and terminate, or claim and terminate, don't require any inputs. So you can't, it's a very simple contract. And they were, and they spent 20 minutes telling me how great they were. And I was like, okay. They're like, here comes the number. So 10 grand. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, they've got top tier people, but okay. So there's some other firms out there, I'm sure, that might be able to, like, I mean, in my mind, I had like $1,000 audit for, 65 lines, just to, like, maybe that would be sufficient. Maybe not. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is you audit it once, right? I know I'm not trying to defend the $5,000, but if once you get this stood up, and if it works, or I assume it works, but you get it audited once and it can just be reused for the most part as time goes on. Although I'm not super versed in these like contract deployments and how often they have to be updated or can be updated, or is it upgradable or not? All those different things.
Yeah, this is
I'm just chiming like the like open Zeppelin contracts, for example. I don't know the history of why, you know, version 5 doesn't have the same revoke capability as version 2, but like that version 2 contract's been used for 6 or 7 years by, you know, hundreds of projects and had millions of dollars flow through it without any you know, exploits or hacks or thefts or mistakes or whatnot. And the modifications you're talking about, like it only being callable by the recipient, that's like a super trivial, easy modification to that contract that wouldn't you probably could do without get confidence around without needing the audit, or you know the funds when you call revoke going straight to the treasury instead of to the multi-sig or something. It's a you know a one line code change, right? So you might want to just consider like if it doesn't meet the needs, just like slight modification to an existing bulletproof contract rather than worrying about some math or some overflow or some edge case or something that makes it exploitable to lock all the tokens on a new contract you write yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't ask why he didn't go with like the vesting contract and just do some modifications to it. I could probably return back to him and be like, "Hey, would it make sense just to make it so only the payee can do the claiming, and then can we just hard code a terminate address for the revoke function, and that would be it, right? Like that,
Right.
that, and the rest of the contract is like, and I believe that's just like an address that you add when you deploy would be the treasury address, and the revoke just sends it there, and that would be, yeah, like, would that need to be auditable at that point, right? I think that would be a pretty simple change. So
Yeah, I think that's an option.
yep. So anyway, you know, how it gets done, I think is just, I'm just gonna go down. I'm very curious as to like, you know, I've never dealt with these auditors before, so it's kind of fun to like get a meeting with them and hear their spiel and like, you know, see where they go with their sales pitch. So I'm getting quite a bit of entertainment out of it too. So this is not just
stringing them along.
yeah, you know, like I don't know. It's just, you know, like every single auditing firm is like, you know, contact me, and I'm like, I can see what, you know, come on for a video call, and you're going, yeah, for a big large contract audit, like there's not one size fits all, right? But for how simple this contract is, it is pretty fun. I'm a terribly small fish to chase. And then I was looking at go ahead, Brad.
I just wanted to reiterate my point in this is like I want this to be reusable for other reasons, not just me, of course. Whatever path gets us to be able to confidently reuse this, you know, this model or this setup for any other community developer type position is my main want out of all this.
That's right, and that's kind of why I'm taking the time to explore like a lot of different things, is because I feel like if this does work and it works well, it will be the way we do it again. And if we do it again and again, and then, you know, next thing you know, we have, you know, a handful of community-led developers, then we're going to want to make sure that the way we're doing it is it makes sense. So, you know, whether it's modifying an Open Zeppelin contract, coming up with a new one that we spend $5,000 whole dollars like to audit, okay, if that's necessary, or if we go with Superfluid, which maybe it's free, but they take a commission, and how much is that commission compared to just getting someone to write a smart contract, modifying a smart contract that's open source, will save us more money in the end, right? Like what does their commission structure look like, right? So, yeah, just kind of exploring these ideas on that front is kind of where I've been putting a bit of time. So, if anyone has any more ideas on where we could go or products or contracts that we could use, I'm more than happy to hear about it. Yeah, so that's kind of the place I'm at. I'm just gonna get a couple more quotes on audits. Oh, I also ran into auditing software like Mithril and what's the other ones? Simplify, something like this. And these are like programmable auditing softwares that you can use. Has anyone heard of those and their effectiveness? I'll put the, this is by CoinCensus. This is the Mithril software that you can run to audit your .sol contracts. So I'm going to run that on this particular contract to see if it comes up with anything extremely simply like maybe it's like there's just like an obvious exploit that this would pick up. So I'm kind of curious how that works out. Yeah, it seems like there's quite a few tools out there for doing stuff, and then obviously going to companies and getting quotes is interesting. Or like I said, just modifying the Open Zeppelin version to do what we want specifically, and then maybe just running the Mithril open source, making sure that there's clearly nothing there that can be messed with, and that's good enough. Like maybe we don't need to pay a third-party company to say this is good enough. We can, just by modifying one or two lines of code and running some open source auditing software, you could defer that this is probably going to be just fine, right?
And code scanning software is great at finding those kinds of issues, especially if there's not a lot of user input. I think there's not much that can go wrong. One question I would have is just to make sure I'm not sure, but if there's any risk to the treasury itself from such a contract, I wouldn't think so, because it's its own contract. But it's like if the developer wallet was affected by something that went wrong, that would suck, but it wouldn't be as bad as, obviously we wouldn't want anything to happen to treasury type stuff. Or the funds that were delegated for that particular contract. That could be a large sum, right? But I don't know where all the risk factors are either. Just calling that out.
That's a good question. I don't think the Livepeer treasury can be I don't think the Livepeer treasury at all can be affected by a third-party contract, like another contract on chain, if it's already been audited for what it's done. Unless Doug, do you want to speak on that?
That's right. Excuse me. That's right. I mean, if there's bugs or errors within the Treasury code itself, then those could be exploited. But if there's not, then no third party contract that's sending tokens back to it could exploit it.
That's good to hear.
Also, I'll just throw the testing that I did for this contract that Buddy made on a Holsky testnet. So these are the write contract functions. So you have the claim and terminate. And then if you under transactions, you can see that just under testing, it was deployed, claimed it twice. The funds to the payee, sent one terminate transaction, claimed it again, and then the final terminate transaction. So 2 of 2, and then the funds are returned. So I did mess around with some of this, and it seems to work quite nice. It's very simple, but yeah. Anyway, If we have, I'll keep you updated, and I'll seek feedback from kind of people that are interested in doing this, and also Brad and whoever would be interested in doing such a role. Yeah, but I think semantically it's a pretty simple problem, and we'll come to a conclusion sooner or later on just like what the best way to go about it is. Lastly, I do want to quickly mention that the Livepeer Innovators DAO, the final deadline to do submissions is on 18th, so that's in 3 days. We have quite a few good submissions now, so I'm pretty excited about that. I will share an update once the deadline happens, and yeah, we'll go ahead with the DAO, maybe another DAO meeting, and go through how the voting process is going to happen. So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Did Tape end up applying?
Yes, they did.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that one.
Are you responsible for helping them through the process at all?
They just hit me up on Discord to figure out like when the application date ended and what they were supposed to do.
Cool. Do record that in the time and expense tracker so that you can get some credit for helping such a big user of the Livepeer network kind of wiggle their way through the application process.
Will do. Thanks.
Cool. And I'll also be sending an email blast to all the applicants of it to let them know that they're, the deadline's coming up and we've successfully received their submission, so that they're not confused and maybe what the next steps are. So kind of go from that. Yeah. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, Papa Bear. I know we already talked about this a little bit, but do you want to talk about the gas spikes, round initialization, and bad tickets topic?
I think I covered most of it when when Hunter was on the call, but I mean, if anyone has anything to add to it or has any ideas of what they think might be the issue, I'd love to hear it. Brad? No. I just yeah, no, I've kind of
It's been a
I
while
don't
since
know.
I've looked at that code, but I mean, I don't know. Something's obviously going on with the timing of something that it's creating. But with those tickets, like the key thing is that when they're made, they're signed. So it's not like you in your
Yeah, no,
database
I thought about it
you
too. I
can
was like, oh,
say,
I'm just gonna go
"Hey,
ahead
this
and change
block hash
this.
is
Then
just
I was like,
wrong.
no, that's not gonna work.
Everything
Yeah,
else is
so
right," because you can't re-sign it.
yeah, no,
'Cause
that kind of takes away the whole purpose of having a signed.
I would just say, luckily, the tickets are much lower these days. But it is important to point out to watch your logs for this, because it'll just keep retrying it. So keep retrying to cache this ticket until you remove that line from your database.
Yeah, and what happens if you don't take it out? Will it? Can you still receive another ticket?
John can probably talk about that a little bit. I think one of his operating quote unquote accounts just kept retrying until it ran out of Ethereum.
Yeah,
Or or you get 2 rounds. So it was like, because they're claimable over 2 rounds. So it's either going to stop at 2 rounds or when you run out of ETH in your account.
So it's a transaction every time. I didn't even realize that it's.
Yeah, if you look at
Oh
the ticket
God, I gotta
broker,
check my other notes now.
Oh, I
I
was gonna
probably just
say
put
I
fear
didn't
in
even look at that. I didn't even look at
everybody's
that.
brain.
I've looked in my wallet and I don't see any, like, it still has says ETH in it about the amount I expected. So I don't know if it
They're
burned
pretty
gas.
cheap. Let me try to find
But
that
there were
contract real
about
quick.
But it does try
over
every 30
100
seconds. So if
failed.
it is trying and actually charging, a transaction, I mean, I guess those 2-cent
Let me see if you
transactions
had
will add up.
any.
I'm gonna go look and take a look now. Those are on my
Or maybe
Yeah,
we'll
dummy
I had
account.
one in Singapore today.
Ooh.
I just deleted the database instead of doing what you're supposed to.
Well, that said, John, I only see yours trying it, which is strange.
I'm gonna
I don't
take a
see any
look
other
now.
failed transactions. But I wonder if the ticket you got was just different in some way.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look into it last night, but I was going to gather the logs and post an issue, and I might
But
open up the database in SQLite editor.
yeah, so But the error on your failed transaction is this ticket creation round block hash invalid for creation round. And it says execution reverted. It uses
Yeah, I
the
don't see
whole
it
like
continually trying actual transactions. Like if I look at the
0.005
account.
cents.
Mine is a bit of a different issue. You mentioned that there was a creation around block hash error, like you'd seen this before.
Yeah, but why did George keep trying? And I don't see any from his. Just see yours. Well, I would say one of you guys make it an issue on GitHub and probably post what you can. Like Papa Bear, I think you already did it. You already put it all in
Yeah, I can just grab everything I
Discord,
put
so
in
it's just
Discord.
copying it.
Yeah, I can do that afterwards.
I'll try to get my logs. I should still have some. This.
And I haven't seen it on my end, so.
I'm thinking one workaround would be to delete the ticket when this type of thing happens. But it seems like that's sort of like patching up a deeper issue.
Or at least mark it as like it failed and just stop trying again.
Yeah. Yeah, then we really see a failed transaction and ticket would get deleted from database, and we kind of triage that and see, what else is going on.
Yeah, it seems like they shouldn't be created in the first place, but I think, yeah, like detecting orchestrator side that you have an invalid ticket that won't work either because of the error or in advance seems like a better solution.
It's weird. I see a ticket just came, like I just won a ticket a minute ago, and I don't notice which node it's from. Thought I had, because I restarted all my machines fairly recently, and I think it looks the same as it did before. I'm gonna have to go through my logs and figure out where that came from just to see. But does look like some tickets are able to get through. I did send myself a ticket also as a test earlier, and that was worked. So I just
Yeah,
see if
looking at the contract, there's a
potentially.
lot that are still caching, so it's something.
Yeah, I was just didn't know if it was something to do with my node in particular, if there was something going on, or is one of my, I don't know, I still don't know what it could have been, um, but yeah, I see that. I mean, it just literally posted a minute ago. So
Yeah.
It did burn some ETH on my account, though. It wasn't all of it, though, or it wasn't that much, really.
Yeah, because that I just was actually looking at that my the address I use for claiming, and I only see like it actually. I don't see it like I don't see a transaction happening every 30 seconds. Like it's like the logs show that it failed to failed to cache it every 30 seconds. So are you seeing it like every 30 seconds is trying it, John, on yours?
It looks like it's about every 1,000 blocks. 1,200 blocks. It's not
About
exact.
5 minutes almost, roughly.
Oh.
And then it went on.
And yours was just a regular, like just a ticket, like should have been a winning ticket. I'm just trying to figure out what's different,
Yeah.
why they're have different, what would cause different periods of time for it to retry.
Yeah, I only see one other one other than yours, John, that failed. Like from a different address, I mean.
With this
I do see like the initial time it tried and it fails, but I don't see it like retrying.
I feel like this is a good thing that we have like dummy accounts that are like claiming these. Like, it just drains your main wallet of all your ETH.
Yeah.
And it's also good. Arbitrum's cheap now. Back at $200 a transaction in L1 days.
I mean, the literal amount that it tried for me shows as $0. So I mean, oh no, sorry, I take that back. No, it's actually 3 cents. It's looking at the wrong spot. It was 0 ETH for $0, but the actual transaction fee was 3 cents.
I think mine was
And that's
90.
and that's during a gas spike where gas is almost 4 times what it used to be normally. Now gas has been crazy. I mean, not crazy, but low, but it's been all over the place. It used to just be like steady 0.01.
What would make this really hard to debug or try to figure out is if it's RPC related for some reason or another.
It was definitely a thought of mine Thinking
It's almost
it could be
impossible to
that, but I
recreate
don't.
that because you're not having
Yeah,
issues now, but it could have been transient for some reason. I don't know if like
Yep.
the node got behind or what, but that would have been from the broadcaster side, not even from your side, because they're the
Oh.
ones making.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a broadcaster thing because the broadcaster is
Well,
what
wait,
creates the ticket.
no,
So.
I think the orchestrator makes a ticket, then the broadcaster puts a nonce on it and then signs it.
Oh, I didn't realize it works that way. Then it could. Oh, all right, that's interesting. And John, you run your own RPC?
And with this particular node, it was running on Mike's Zode app, and I'm looking at another account that was running on Alchemy, that I think had a similar issue a few weeks ago. So I'm trying to find that one
Okay.
now, see if it was the same error.
Yeah, no, mine's running on Mike's as well, so that could be a common issue. If we were able to track that down, that'd be helpful.
This other error I had that came from Alchemy, that one just says ticket is used, and that one was
Ticket is
17
used,
days
huh?
ago. Yeah, I
Never
think
seen
might
that
be
before.
different.
I've seen that. It's like it submits a ticket and it actually goes through, but the RPC like it never reports back, and it just keeps and it tries again to cache it, but it's already been cached, so you can't.
Okay. It's interesting, this creation block round block hash and creation round. It seems like it would have something to do with the round that we're on. I haven't compared the times of mine yet, with the rounds that start and stop yet to see. Pull that up too.
I mean, I think the first one I was like off by 2 days. It was something crazy like that. I mean, it's hard to believe that anything would work if it was off by that much. As far with the RPC being, if the RPC was off by that much,
Right.
or I guess what else is it? I mean, I don't know what the RPC is doing. So
I have
I mean, I
seen,
see it.
like, because I've ran my own ARB nodes, I've seen sometimes you can actually run one that's quite behind, and Livepeer will still run, but when it tries to do certain transactions, you'll like call
So
reward or
for
such.
some things, but not others, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, it'll run and transcode it seems, even when it's running a little bit behind.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was able to call reward. Like, I mean, the second I initialized the round, I mean, I saw the reward call go through like instantly. So it seemed to have known that there was seemed to have known it. It was pretty current. It seemed like, at least on that particular node, using the same RPC. But it is interesting that it's actually the orchestrator that makes the ticket, and then it gets signed by the broadcaster. Now that you're saying that actually does sound familiar, but I in my mind I was thinking it was the broadcaster that does it. So I have to think about it more now.
I'm working on getting some ARB nodes back up and going, but it's just there's been so many upgrades that one thing breaks, another thing breaks. It's a lot to keep up with. But
That's why I pay Mike to do it.
yeah,
When I see you just got a ticket too, so that's interesting that we're
Yeah.
both here talking about not getting tickets, and then we both get them. Guess squeaky wheel theory.
just all that.
Yeah. I'm not sure really what to make of it, other than I'll compile everything and put it into GitHub, and we can keep an eye on it. And if it keeps happening, I'm sure more data will start to get a clearer picture.
Yeah, I think that's all we can do. I think we need more examples to get a better idea so you can compare each one to see what's going on.
And wait, Ben, you said you had a ticket that was you saw that was bad. Ben's still here. I'm not looking at the chat.
Yes, yeah, I had one in Singapore that I just caught today. I don't know how long it was going on for. I assume a couple of days. It just said like execution averted or something.
Yeah.
It's the same error that someone else got. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one you'll see afterwards, and it just kept going again and again and again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're using you use Mike's RPC in Singapore?
I do, yeah. I use it everywhere.
Okay. Well, we're starting to see a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, it's partly why I'm using Alchemy in LA to kind of just blend that a little bit.
All these issues seem to pop up right around the giant gas spike and the mayhem we had for like a couple of hours on Arbitrum. I don't know if it's related.
It's a good observation.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on your reward calls. If you have a max gas price set, I almost missed one yesterday. Luckily caught it thanks to
Yeah.
Veer's bot.
Yeah, I noticed. I took a look. It looked like I mean, I didn't count every orchestrator, but there was. I looked on Marco's tool, and it looked like at least most of them were called right at the time that the round was initialized, or I would have posted something. But yeah, it's probably a good idea just in general. Keep an eye on that. Well,
Cool.
Have we lost our host?
No, I'm here. Sorry, just sitting back, relaxing, listening. So, but if if we're good, just looking at the topics, I think we covered them all. Bad tickets, pricing, price change, round initialization, gas spikes, AI, time scale. Arunas. Arunas, is Arunas still here? You had a question around the AI time scale, time frame, I think, right?
Yes, it is. The project is going along at the moment. We can see the work is happening. Just wanted to understand where we are in the project at the moment. I believe there was set out some timescales for completion. The project. I want to know whether we're still on track. Are we in delay? Or maybe we're managing to pull forward but just to have an understanding at which point when we anticipate go live at this present time. I know it could be a bit of the guess, but still to have an understanding, because around this time it would be good to be a bit of ahead of the game and get myself sorted for proper AI rig. So I don't know, maybe Rick good advice, because he's overlooking in general. Doug has dropped out, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe-
still here. I was doing some coding at the side. So. Yeah, I think for the full headlines, or at least the full planning, it's best to act as Doc or Rich. And I think tomorrow the open ecosystem talk is also there, so they can give you a better overview. From my side, from the technical side, I'm still on with my milestones. So this week or last week, I completed the discovery algorithm. So that's being merged into the code this week. I hope tomorrow. Jonna revealed already. That means that all orchestrators can join then. That have sufficient hardware. Currently, we accept every GPU above 16 gigabytes. I'm also still looking at the selection algorithm. So all the little things we found in our test. That's where I'm currently working at. But for a real overview of the whole planning, I think it's best to ask Doc or Rich.
Okay. I see there is a.
Because I have the documents here, but I'm not sure if they're already finalized. So that's why I'm not.
Okay. Well, there is an open ecosystem call tomorrow, so.
I think that's the best way to explain. You have the up-to-date information. Otherwise, I will probably be sharing something that might not be up-to-date anymore. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry that I could not answer the full question, but I think they have a better answer here than that I'm trying to answer something.
Great.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Just to finalize the conversation around, Marleymon says, I'd be opposed to burning any developer SPE tokens since only delegators are contributing to the treasury. The entire Livepeer community stands to benefit from the development efforts, including those not delegating. I don't have any heartburn towards non-delegators as they don't believe benefit from inflationary LPT. If the envisioned work isn't performed for whatever reason, I feel that those tokens should return to the treasury. Otherwise, delegators are penalized for contributing to the treasury, and non-delegators get a pass. I think this was in reference to the conversation about the smart contract and what to do with the developer not doing the work. Yeah, I think we'd want to return the funds to the treasury. It's like pretty big, important piece to that. So
Yeah, I think that was from my comment. I think I was just not understanding. I think I caused that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I did propose. I know Doug has been like, you know, he doesn't want to waste resources on like auditing smart contracts that like already exist. So, you know, well, nobody does, right? It doesn't make sense to. So, yeah, I'm gonna look into maybe modifying that Open Zeppelin contract if it's like much simpler. Otherwise, yeah, check out the. Feel free to deploy the contract that I have on my GitHub and like play around with it if you want. But yeah, hopefully we can get that roll going, and yeah, go from there. Great. Any last topics before we sign off? All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the water cooler chat, making Livepeer the open and decentralized video infrastructure for the world. I do appreciate your time being here. We will see you all next week. Cheers.